everybody. Welcome to La Hora del Mitote. I'm Lee Henderson. I'm the managing director of Teatro Visión. My pronouns are she, her. And this is La Hora del Mitote. We're here every Friday at 7 o'clock on Facebook and YouTube. And today we are here talking about Teatro Visión's newest program, which is our technical theater classes for youth. So I am really happy to be here with the artist instructors who are going to be teaching those classes for us. We have Kayla's going to be teaching our week about costumes. Alfredo will be teaching our week about masks. And Carolina will be teaching the week about puppets. And as always, and I will be teaching the classes on scenery and also lighting. And as always, this is an interactive conversation. So for all of you out there watching, we encourage you to participate through the comments on Facebook and YouTube. So feel free to ask questions or share your ideas or just, give us a wave and say hi to let us know you're out there listening. And I also want to specifically give a shout out that the reason we are doing these classes is a direct result of one of these La Hora del Mitotes that we did back in September, where I was talking to some of the young artists who have worked on our productions. And I asked them what we could do that would be beneficial to them while we were all stuck in our houses. And one of the things that they asked for was technical theater classes. So I want to thank AB Ozuna and Aly Ramirez and Marissa Torres, who were my guests that day, because without them, we wouldn't be doing this program now. So thank you. So I'm going to start by asking my guests to all introduce themselves. Just tell us who you are and a little bit about the work that you do in the theater. And why don't I start with Kayla?
Hi, everyone. My name is Kayla Fuji. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I have been designing costumes for about 13 years. I started off I've been doing technical theater, I think, since I was in high school, and started off doing backstage and then moved to stage management. Then started doing props. I did my first show with Teatro, I don't even know how long ago, long time. And then I did props primarily for almost 10 years. And then I decided to make a switch to costumes. I was tired of carrying a lot of really heavy things. I still do props occasionally, but for the most part, been focusing on costumes. And for the last about 7-8 years, been doing my career mostly with theater for young people, theater for young audiences, theater for youth. I like working with young people, watching them learn and grow through the theatrical process. So that's me.
Perfect. Thank you. Alfredo, you want to tell us about yourself?
Sure. So hi, everyone. I'm Alfredo, and I'm an actor. I'm a performer, and I studied here in Mexico City in the National School of Theatrical Art. Then since I finished school, I started working with La Quinta, which is the company Caro and I are part of. And we mainly, Caro is a co-founder of the company. I am not. But what we do is street theater. Something we like to, a way we like to call it. How we like calling the thing we do is open sky theater. Teatro Cielo Abierto. So that's what we do, and Carol will maybe talk more about it because it's her company. So I've been performing with them since then, and then I moved to California in 2016 to start my master's degree, and I just finished it last year, and it's a master and MFA in ensemble-based physical theater in Blue Lake, California, in Humboldt County, which is a lovely place to be and to hang out, and beautiful landscapes. And lately I've been working a lot in masks making, and studying the impact of masks in communities, particularly in Mexico. So that's a big a grandes rasgos, ese soy yo. That's me.
Thank you. Carolina, do you want to tell us about yourself?
Hola, buenas noches. Gracias por invitarnos aquí a la Hora del Mitote. Yo estoy en México, yo soy actriz, estudié en la Escuela Nacional de Arte Teatral igual que Alfredo, un par de generaciones antes que él. Terminé la escuela en 2010 y después me especialicé en teatro de calle. En el 2012 fundé La Quinta con otros compañeros y desde entonces trabajo con ellos. Y desde el 2012 también es que empecé a estudiar títeres, primero con maestros mexicanos y luego con maestros de Bélgica, de Estados Unidos y de otros países. Y en el 2016 comienzo el laboratorio de animación de títeres y objetos, con el que he estado dando clases a niños, a adultos, a migrantes, a actores profesionales. Es un espacio en el cual yo enseño títeres desde la construcción hasta la animación. Y bueno, a eso me dedico.
Thank you. Gracias. And real quick about me, in addition to being the managing director at Teatro Visión, I'm also a professional scenic designer and lighting designer for decades. And like Kayla, I've been working with Teatro Visión in that way since at least, I believe, 1999, so more than 20 years now. And so in addition to my work with Teatro Visión, I've worked with companies all over the Bay Area and in New York City, in Wisconsin, and in Colorado as well. And for a while, I taught technical theater at San Jose City College for a few years as well. So I am really excited, as a theater artist and theater technician, that this is something Teatro Visión has been wanting to offer to students for a long time, and I'm really happy we're finally starting a technical theater program. And so on that note, let me start by asking you all, tell us a little bit about what you love about the aspect of technical theater you're going to be teaching. Like, Alfredo, what do you love about masks?
Well, first I have a question for you, a quick clarification. What do you mean when you say technical theater? It's a term that I'm not familiar, I might be familiar with, but I just want to make sure, what do you conceive or what do you include in that word, in that concept?
Yeah, you know what? That is such a good question, and thank you for asking it, because it's totally possible that other people out there and students who might be interested in these classes wouldn't necessarily instinctively know what it is either. But I mean, essentially, what we mean when we're talking about technical theater is the side of theater that doesn't encompass acting, right? All the things that go into making a performance, that make the space that the actors are in, that make the objects that they interact with, the things that they wear, the light that you see them by, right? All of those things are the things that we would lump under technical theater. Kayla, would you agree with that? Is that a good definition? Did that help?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So, well, to answer your question, what do I love about masks? I guess first thing that comes to my mind is their mystery and their power. What do I mean by power? Maybe I guess I mean the power of the image itself, just seeing a face that is not a human face, but that a human is wearing, that it might be human or not, but anyways, someone is giving life. It's just powerful to me. It's interesting. It makes me feel curious. It pulls me towards the thing I am seeing, and I wanna sometimes understand it, sometimes see the details of the artisany, sometimes just see the whole body, or sometimes not even look at one mask, but look at the whole of whatever it is happening around that mask. Maybe I'm talking about maybe there are a lot of masks, in a dance or in a street intervention, or even just in a wall. It's just the mystery and the power. Who are they? Who in the very beginning thought about that mask? Was it a man, a woman? For whom did that mask perform? What was the purpose of it? It's just when you see it, when I see it, like many doors start opening. So I guess that's what I like. That's what I love about them. Just like the mystery, it's just powerful. Hmm.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. No, yeah, I mean, I totally agree. There's something really like compelling about the image of masks for sure. Carolina, do you want to talk about puppets a little bit? Like, what do you love about puppets?
Sí, pues últimamente me he dado cuenta que me gusta, que me da la oportunidad de mezclar las artes plásticas y el teatro. Em, Porque yo realizo mis títeres, todo lo que yo llego a animar primero pasó por un trabajo plástico. Entonces me gusta mucho darme la oportunidad de jugar con los colores, con los materiales, ver cómo se mueven y cómo un cartón se puede convertir en un personaje. Entonces creo que lo que más me gusta es que me da la sensación de que siempre estoy jugando y que cuando la gente los mira a los títeres, se dan ese chance, esa oportunidad también de jugar, porque todos entramos en la convención de que esa cosa que estamos viendo tiene vida y muchas veces nos recuerda mucho a los juegos de niños. Eso es lo que me gusta.
Gracias. Thank you. Kayla, what about costumes? What drew you to costumes? What do you love about doing costumes?
I like being able to tell a story visually and being able to complement what an actor is doing. So to give them a costume piece and watch them come alive or find a character or find something in their costume that just gives them an extra push to their character. But conversely, I like being able to see what an actor is doing and go like, oh, maybe I can find something to complement them. Is it a pair of glasses? Is it an accent that they're doing that maybe I can like hint at with a costume. So being able to just support and then help create and collaborate. And then at the same time, being able to collaborate with other people in the technical theater world. So some people like Alfredo and Carolina, who I just met, but if we ever did a show together, we would work very closely together. But even as a costume designer, you work with the props designer, you work a lot with the scenic designer, the lighting designer, sound designer. It winds up being a very collaborative process, and it's really nice to be able to each bring your skill together and to work together.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the things that relates to that I in particular love about lighting design is that it's non-existent except in interaction with all these other things, right? You can't even see light unless it's on an actor or a costume or a puppet or scenery or something, right? So I think that's one of the things that idea of all these elements working together for sure is something that probably a lot of us would agree on is really important about, and fun and exciting, and makes it interesting about doing technical theater for sure. Thanks. I want to give real quick, we've got some people watching. I just want to shout out to Felisa. Hi, thank you for watching. And then let's see. Inclusive arts education, an actress and a director for inclusive performers. Yeah, and so we would love to be in touch with you. If you can always email us at teatro@teatrovision.org, or if you go to teatrovision.org is our website, and you can find out more about us there too. So yeah, please do reach out or give us a message on our Facebook page for sure. And for anyone else out there watching, please do feel free to comment. We can see your comments. So if you have questions for any of us about our work as artists, or about the classes, or about what kids are going to be learning in the classes, do feel free to drop those in the comments, because we would love to hear from you and we would be happy to answer your questions. And I should have said this at the beginning too, but just in case anyone who's watching isn't aware about the classes, you can find out more information about them. It's all on our website at teatrovision.org/classes. But basically we're offering classes in technical theater for kids aged 10 to 18, and they start on February 2nd, and they run for 5 weeks. So basically there will be a week about costumes, a week about masks, a week about puppets, a week about scenery, a week about lighting. And you could sign up for one of those. You could sign up for all of them, whatever, is of interest to you. So I encourage you out there watching to go and check that out and register at teatrovision.org/classes if you are interested. And on that note, let's talk about what people are going to learn in the classes. you want to start with? I'll start with Carolina this time, maybe. Like, if a kid signs up to take your class, what kind of things will they be learning about?
Vamos a aprender a hacer títeres con lo que sea. Desde con las frutas que tienen en el refrigerador, con una bolsa de pan vieja, con objetos que pueden tener en su cuarto. Vamos a aprender cuáles son los principios de animación. Esto quiere decir cómo dar vida a cualquier objeto, desde una cuchara hasta un muñeco puede ser, o podemos construir títeres con los materiales que tengan a la mano ahí en su casa, sin necesidad de salir a comprar nada. Vamos a darnos cuenta que podemos encontrar títeres en cada rincón de nuestra habitación o de nuestra cocina, donde sea. Eso es lo que vamos a aprender.
Thanks. Kayla, you want to talk a little bit about your class? Like, what can people expect to learn about costumes?
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the basics of design, how I would start, researching and approaching a show. If we have time, we'll get into a little bit of history. And then the second class will actually make something, which will be fun. So no sewing. So if you're interested in costume design and you can't sew, it's fine. But it'll be stuff around your house that we can use. You wouldn't need to buy anything for.
And that's a good point too, that you're getting at too, Kayla. So if you're interested in taking the classes, I think you can do it at any level of experience, right? If you've never sewed before, if you've never played with masks before, if you've never, experimented with lighting, whatever, you are more than welcome to take these classes, and I think you'll get something out of them. And similarly, I know we've got some kids signed up already who have done a little bit of work in theater before, and so that's fine as well. I think that we're all there will be something there for people at a variety of levels of experience. Alfredo, you want to talk a little bit about what kids might learn in your class?
Sí. Y un poco parecido a Carolina, nosotros vamos a empezar a trabajar un poco, a jugar un poco con objetos que tengamos a la mano. Libros, empaques de leche, botellas, servilletas, papel, lo que sea. Vamos a empezar a jugar, a arrugarlos, a ver qué formas tienen, y con lo que se tenga a la mano vamos a ir buscando ver de qué manera lo armamos, ¿no? Es decir, a lo mejor hay gente que no tiene como a lo mejor hilo, aguja, pegamento, tape, y no importa. Empezaremos a descubrir de qué manera armar los objetos que tengamos, ya sea para hacer una máscara nada más como un antifaz, ¿no? Como un eye mask, o una media máscara, ¿no? Es decir, nada más cubrir nuestros ojos y nariz y hablar con nuestras bocas, o una máscara completa, ¿no? Entonces, y bueno, en la segunda sesión vamos a jugar un poco con algo de música, vamos a ver los personajes que hayan hecho, y vamos un poco a relacionarnos a través del video con nuestras máscaras del cartón de leche y de huevo y de lo que sea que se hayan hecho.
Thanks. So some of you are getting at this a little bit already, right? But obviously we're teaching these classes over Zoom because we can't have, which is a disadvantage because we can't get people together in one room, but it's actually an advantage in that we can get Carolina and Alfredo to teach for us, even though they're not here in the Bay Area. So like, can you give us an idea of how that's going to work? Like, how are you going to be able to do hands-on activities, make sure that everybody's involved working over the digital? Whoever wants to start.
Yo. Justo tener la pantalla como es una herramienta para los títeres, entonces vamos a jugar mucho con eso, como de pronto puedo jugar con la cercanía que tengo a la cámara, entra y sale un muñeco, y cómo puedo crear ilusiones con materiales, a lo mejor con un muñequito pequeñito, cuando yo lo aproximo a la cámara puede ser gigante, o a lo mejor yo puedo crear microescenarios que a través de la cámara pueden generar todo un universo. Creo que vamos a divertirnos mucho con esta, porque va a ser una especie de cine con títeres, vamos a jugar un poco a hacer cine con títeres, porque estamos mostrándonos a nuestros compañeros a través de la cámara. Y vamos a hacer, sobre todo va a ser mucho trabajo de mesa, es decir, sentados, frente a su cámara. Será importante que tengan una mesa y ya estaremos como haciendo dinámicas como tenemos 5 minutos para conseguir papel y entonces tendrán que caminar por su casa y encontrar papel y venimos y habrá momentos en los que habrá trabajo manual donde yo daré indicaciones de cómo ir paso a paso construyendo los títeres para después darles vida frente a la cámara.
Thanks.
Sí, nosotros de este lado también vamos a jugar frente a la cámara. Nosotros usualmente si estuviéramos haciéndolo en persona, veríamos el cuerpo completo de la persona que está jugando con la máscara, ¿no? Pero en este caso, también, al igual que Caro, nos va a funcionar que estén en una mesa sentados, que estén en una silla, para que les podamos ver el rostro. Porque, bueno, si se levantan, ¿no? El rostro se aleja y no podemos ver los detalles. Entonces, vamos a jugar con emociones básicas, triste, enojado, contento, asustado, ¿no? Entre algunas otras, y haremos algunas secuencias. Entonces, todo va a ser frente a la cámara en relación con algo más, ¿no? Es decir, mi máscara respondiendo con algo más, un objeto cualquiera, y con un poco de música también. Entonces, nos funciona nada más que tengan un buen espacio en el que se sientan cómodos y listo.
Kayla, what are you planning in terms of being able to teach over Zoom?
In some ways, I don't know that's going to be that hard because, I mean, I'm sure you guys being cooped up for the past, almost a year now, probably watched a lot of YouTube and, maybe learned something new. So, I'll probably be able to do like 2 camera setups, like one overhead while we make something and one on me. I don't even know that I need to be on camera once we get to our making class. So, and it'll be, if you've never touched or created anything at all, you'll be able to do it. If, you're a more advanced, crafty person, there are some extra things that you could add to it or maybe make multiples of what we're doing or, find an extra little twist. So, yeah, think of it as going to be like a little YouTube tutorial on how to make an accessory.
Yeah, I like, that everybody's thinking about, there are some advantages to doing this way, thinking about teaching scenery, for instance, it's really all about sort of the shape of space and how space interacts with people. And so with us all being in different spaces, I think there will be opportunity to see how different participants in the class are playing in their different spaces in a way that you can't necessarily do even when you're all in the same room together. It's also easy, if I were to put up like Zoom backgrounds of different places, right? You can very suddenly be in different scenery over Zoom, and then lighting, like I said, it's all about like how it interacts with objects and people and things. And I mean, you can do that, like everybody's got a flashlight or something, right? You can do that really easily with whatever light source everybody has in their own home. So I think it should be actually, like, I don't know about you all, this is the first time I've taught these subjects over Zoom, but I feel like it's kind of going to be, a fun opportunity to teach that in a new way. I'll just give another shout out to somebody watching on Facebook. So so we have an art specialist from a school district, and you teach STEAM curriculum for after school programs and would like to learn more. So yeah, we would love to be in touch with you. So please, feel free to comment and ask your questions right now about the stuff we're talking about now. If you want to learn more about Teatro Visión, you can go to our website, which is www.teatrovision.org. Or you can message us on our Facebook page or, shoot us an email at teatro@teatrovision.org. And, we do, in addition to these classes, we do a lot of other programs for schools and students and things like that. And so, yeah, we would love to get to know you and get you on our list so that we can connect. So thank you for that. And then we have Alexia Diaz, who is one of our artists out there watching. Hi, Alexia. Thank you for joining. And as a reminder to anyone else who's out there watching, we're talking about our technical theater classes. We would love to take your questions. If there's anyone out there who is thinking about taking them or has, kids or students in your life that would be interested in taking them, we're here to answer your questions. This is the first time that we have ever taught these particular classes here at Teatro Visión. So, I understand if you have questions about them, and we'd love to answer them and, get you and your kids and your friends and everybody signed up for the classes. So let me ask my next question, which is, why do you think it's important for kids to learn about technical theater, be it costumes or scenery or masks or puppets? Why is this an important thing for us to be teaching kids about?
Yo creo que independientemente de si ellos piensan en un futuro dedicarse a las artes o no, creo que tomar este tipo de actividades nos hace desarrollar muchas aptitudes para comunicarnos en el mundo, para después desarrollar un trabajo cualquiera que este sea, desde otras perspectivas. Creo que el tomar materias como títeres, máscara, vestuario, desarrollan cierta creatividad en los niños y en todas las personas que lo practiquen. Y también en estos tiempos va a ser una manera de relajarnos, de cambiar nuestra atención de lo que está sucediendo y ponernos a jugar y descubrir que se puede jugar en cualquier lugar y que podemos transformar nuestra casa o nuestro cuarto o los materiales, incluso las cosas que creemos que ya no sirven, podemos darles un giro y podemos ver la vida desde otra perspectiva. Creo que eso es lo bondadoso de estudiar cualquier técnica teatral.
Yes, I agree with Carol. I think it is important. It is relevant, not only for kids but for people in general, to when they feel interested in working in this kind of activities such as technical theater. I think it nourishes creativity. It nourishes the senses. It's like food for the senses. So for all our senses, even the sixth sense or the seventh sense, or there's people that believe that there are more senses that go beyond the five that we like have here in our face. But I think it's like food. It nourishes who we are. It like helps us to articulate like how can we solve problems, not only talking about creativity and crafting and sewing and doing like manual stuff. And even if we are not aware of it, I think somewhere like inside us, this kind of solving problems activity like can like translate to other contexts of our lives, like when relating to people, when we face like even a daily and very quotidian task in our lives, no, like okay, so this broke, so but I like it, so how do I fix it? Or like I don't know, I'm just putting a very simple example, but it nourishes who we are, and also it brings out from the deep of us things, sometimes feelings that we are not aware of, right? Like, oh, I never thought this could be possible. Oh, this is interesting. Like these kind of expressions, when they start coming out, when we start saying these kind of expressions when doing something, it's like, ooh, it's like the first step, or like the symptom, or una pequeña luz, like a very small light that it's like coming out, like, oh, this is me also, like, and I can do this, and I can think of it that way, and I like the color purple, it's just like, everything, like all our universe inside, starts to move with a very apparently small task.
Yeah, so basically everything Carolina and Alfredo said. One of the things I learned fairly recently was that a student who has taken any sort of arts class is 5 times more likely to speak out against social injustice, because you are working with people of different cultures, of different others, and you're all working together toward a common goal. But to touch on what Alfredo said, like, oh, you know, if the cup breaks, how do I fix it? Well, if the cup breaks and it has to be on stage in 5 minutes, you better figure out how to fix it, or to come up with a backup plan. Like, you need to solve a problem, you need to solve it immediately, and you have a time limit. And because the problem's going to get solved, it's just a matter of how you're going to do it. So you better figure it out, because the theater does not wait. And I know we've probably all been in situations where we've gotten a, oops, this is going to have to happen. So just, you know, the quick problem solving, the teamwork, the collaborative nature, and then you just pick up all sorts of strange skills doing technical theater. I was working at my non-theater job, and I was doing a project with a coworker, and she said, "How do you know how to do so much of this stuff?" And I said, "Well, I've done technical theater." She was like, "Oh, maybe I should." You know, she's younger in college age. She's like, "Oh, maybe I should look into that."
Yes, and also, like, even before, like, so the cup breaks, and even before, like, deciding if you fix it or not, it's just first is the fact of asking the question. It's like, do I want to fix it? Do I want to throw it? It's like you start like depurating and filtering the process of like what a decision involves, like just a simple decision, like should I throw this to the trash, should I keep it? It's just that question is already like, ooh, making you doing the work, like the work showing there. And there's an example, like if I like compare the thing, like the creative process with like a physical process, like it's like when you practice sports, right? Like you go running every day, or you go to dance classes, or you go swimming. Like you are working your lungs, right? You are like increasing every time more and more your breath capacity, right? Or your elasticity or flexibility or whatever it is, depending on the sports you're practicing. So something similar with creativity. And also, I guess it's important to mention, or is, yeah, relevant to me, when we talk about creativity, we're not talking necessarily about arts, because sometimes, at least here, there can be like, especially around or among people that are not familiar with art or culture, to relate, like creativity is about like doing craft, like crafts, arts and crafts, but not necessarily, right? Like talking about creativity, we are creative beings by nature. So we are every day putting in practice, even if we are not aware of it, putting in practice that training, like when we go and fix the car, when we decide what clothes we want to wear, like what's the outfit that I like today? Like, do I want to wear a sweater, like the pink sweater or the yellow one? Like when we wash the dishes, we decide how to place them, right? Or we decide if we want to dry them immediately. So creativity is present not only in arts, but in science, in like all the fields. So, and we are constantly training it, even if we are not aware of it. The difference here is that we want to make it like conscious, like a conscious activity, right?
That's so, everything you're saying is so true. And like, I think especially some of these areas that we're talking about in these classes, you know, as Kayla's saying, right, that you learn skills that you're going to use in so many other areas of your life. And, you know, you're talking about you have to put on clothes every day, right? That's in a sense a choice about costumes. And if you think about costumes in a certain way in the theater, because it tells you something about who that person is, or it is appropriate for the job that they're doing or something, right? And I mean the same thing it's true in the theater because the same thing is true in life, right? So learning to think about that.
If you're having a bad day, maybe you put on a mask, but
yeah,
it's a metaphorical mask.
and I mean the same.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that a word that comes to my mind is the word style. So in all these like classes that we're going to be playing with you, like same as for puppets, as for costumes, as for masks, there's a part of us that's going to come out, and that talks about our identity, like the simple task of what do I want to wear today, a sweater or a jacket or whatever, talks about my identity today, right? So when we are making the puppets, when you are going to be like playing in front of the camera with Carol, you're going to be putting your identity, your own style of doing things, same as for masks, where you're going to put your own style on the mask, like from the material you choose is because you liked it, and the color you put on it, and how you put it, and if it's sad or if it's a happy mask, you're going to give to it, or whatever you do, your identity, your own style. And that's a value thing here. We're not going to look for the best puppet, for the best mask, for the best costume, because it's not that ends up being in a second plane, right? Something that's important is what's your style, like who are you through what you do, like am I explaining myself? Yeah, it's just a style, like what's your style? We all have our own style, right? We like doing things in a certain way. So I think that's a very, very beautiful.
Yeah, totally agree. And Carolina, did you want to add something?
Sí, como añadiendo un poco a lo que dice Alfredo, creo que muchas veces se cree que el arte o las cosas artísticas son para unos cuantos o que son difíciles, pero creo que en estos talleres vamos a descubrir que todos podemos hacerlo y que todo lo que tenemos que decir y lo que tenemos que expresar es importante. Y vamos a aprender cómo hacerlo mejor, pero ya todo lo que nosotros ya traemos dentro es importante y está bien. Eso creo que es importante para los talleres que vamos a hacer.
Thank you. Yeah, no, and I was all I was going to add was in regards to like scenery, in the same way that we're in a sense all making costume choices, right? Scenery is it's fundamentally about creating a space where in the theater a play happens, but in our lives we're all creating a space where our lives happen, right? That facilitates our work or our play or our relationships, or they all happen in spaces, and we all have control over those spaces. And lighting in the same way, it sets a mood in the theater, or it defines a relationship in the theater, and it can do that same thing in the real world too, right? You feel differently if you're standing outside under moonlight than you do if you're sitting in your room under artificial lights. And I always feel like thinking about those things in the context of theater, as in I think Alfredo's alluding to this, that thinking about it in that context then gives you confidence and tools and ways of thinking that let you think about that in, other contexts as well. So cool. And again, anyone out there, if you want to throw in your 2 cents, make a comment, ask us a question, please feel free to do so. I'm going to put up the little information about the classes. Again, if you're interested in the classes, you can check out teatrovision.org/classes. So they start on February 2nd. Registrations are open right now, and we would love to have you. So, so feel free to join the conversation. Other than taking our classes, which I think will be very cool, if there are people out there, and as whether young people or adults, right, who are interested in these aspects of theater, who are interested in costumes, or who are interested in puppets or masks, like what advice would you give them to how to what are the next steps? How would they pursue that? Kayla, you have any thoughts you want to start with?
Right now, like the internet is a great resource. It's so funny. Like the past 2 days, I've been getting so many links to like, here are all the inauguration. This is just with fashion. Here are the inauguration outfits. Here's what Joe Biden wore. Here's what Michelle Obama wore. So it basically starts with something as simple as that. And then, of course, I immediately noticed how beautifully color coded all the women were. So even just looking at the news gives you some sort of inspiration. But if you want to start deep diving into YouTube with costume history, I mean, there's a great period drama on Netflix right now called Bridgerton, as a look, as a start for like, oh, that's a fun costume thing to look at. But even things really creatively outside the box, like any sort of movie you think might be a good visual, like any of Tim Burton's movies are great. Pixar, like Frozen, the details and the costume design for Frozen. So I would say start with what you are interested in watching and then start looking for the details in that. Start going beyond the characters, see what the costumes are bringing to the characters that you already enjoy. And then if you're interested in that, maybe start looking at the time period or the country that it's set in, and then start learning the history behind that.
So it's advice for what exactly? I got lost a little bit in your question.
Oh, no worries. If somebody's interested in your case, like learning more about masks, experimenting with masks, other than taking your class, what would you tell them they should do? What advice would you give?
Yeah, I would tell them to look at images, like images, mask images, and just like contemplate them. Like not only images from Latin America, where there are a lot, or like Oceania, where there are a lot, or like Europe, where there are a lot, or like Asia, like Japan and Bali, and where there are a lot. Maybe start also with like North America, like with like native people and native cultures. I have had the experience of very few experiences with a couple of tribes in California, and I got the chance to see some of the masks they make. In Canada and the United States, they have something similar in the kind of characters that they do sometimes, that they used to do, like birds, and like they have like these giant masks, like double or triple mask. Like they open and there's a mask, and they open and there's another mask. So that's very interesting to watch, especially because that's the land where you live. So like approaching those native cultures, I think is very interesting because they keep lots of secrets, and it's very valuable also for them. So contemplating them, like how big they are, like are they animals, but also the full costume, because something interesting about masks is that everything at the end can be a mask of something else. Like the costume can be a mask in a way of the person who is wearing it, or a mask of who is the person. It's a little bit complicated, but contemplating the whole, right? I think that can be very interesting. And also look for mask in Instagram. There are a lot of mask makers and mask artists, and they work like in a very, very, very diverse way, like from just photo or like Photoshop things, and or just like sculpting with materials, and just go through them. I might have a few that I could recommend, so you can take a look at them, because I think they're interesting, but just because of that. I'm not because like they are the best, or like there are thousands of references. Just contemplate. That's
Yo les voy a recomendar como la manera en que yo aprendí títeres, que en México no hay una escuela. Entonces yo comencé a ver videos en YouTube y veía videos y después yo intentaba hacer lo que veía en los videos o veía cómo resolvió ese títere esa persona y entonces yo trataba de imitarlo. Muchas veces no tenía idea de cómo hacerlo, pero muchas veces el mismo juego de estar imitando o de estar tratando de encontrar el secreto me llevó a agarrar un cierto amor por ir aprendiendo. Fue mucho de autoaprendizaje. Otra cosa que recomiendo es leer cuentos, porque muchas veces esas imágenes son muy sugerentes y yo lo que hago es que leo cuentos y a veces imagino cómo es que son esos personajes. Recomiendo que dibujen mucho, aunque no sepan dibujar, que jueguen con algo plástico, que traten de quizás hacer rayones en un principio, también jugar con materiales, o sea, como imaginar cómo es que esta toalla, por ejemplo, de baño puede representar un personaje. Eh, creo que mucho está en buscar referentes, en buscar videos y a lo mejor lo que encontré en un video me interesa, entonces me pregunto quién es esa persona que está detrás de ese video, ¿no? Que así de pronto yo he encontrado a mis maestros, que veo un video de un títere que me parece muy interesante y busco quién hace ese títere y después voy como buscando la manera de llegar a esa persona. Así creo que puede, no porque se vayan a dedicar a los títeres, creo que es importante que se hagan preguntas, que si algo les gusta, pregunten de dónde viene para tratar de acercarse a eso que les haga sentido. Esta sería mi recomendación.
I I can think also in like the like the making of the movies, like, and I think particularly in these animating movies, like I don't know, like the Lord of the Rings. There's like this dragon. I don't know. I don't remember which of them, but there's this giant dragon that is like guarding like all the gold, all the coins.
It's the Hobbit. It's the second Hobbit.
In the Hobbit. Okay, so if you yes. If you look maybe in YouTube for the making of, the actor who was performing this dragon, you can see like these people use like a bunch of things that they put on your face, so the actor start like changing the voice and speaking like the dragon, and then you can see like the before, like when people are shooting the actor, and the after, like when all the animation starts, and you seeing the changes and seeing the contrast. It's like it's very interesting in a way. There's some mask work in there. Something interesting is that puppets and masks are like cousins, are some kind of family. So the making of the movies, I find them very interesting, especially animated movies, to see how do they make, I don't know, this or that character, whatever it is. Like I cannot think in a title now, but just the making of animating movies, even video games, also that is very interesting to see how actors are work before the animation, and then see the animation, and the result is like, it's very interesting to watch.
The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, I think they have like a 6-hour making of that is absolutely fascinating to watch. So if you have it free, watch it.
I actually learned some very good like painting techniques from watching the makeup, Lord of the Rings video about how they did Gollum's makeup, about how they sort of built up it's not makeup because he's CG, but how they built up the sort of look of that character. It's applicable in, how you sort of build up layers of paint too. So yeah, for sure. They're super good.
Something interesting too, like especially for puppets, is like watching stop motion. Like you can see like like the figure, like doing one thing and then another thing and then another thing, but very quick. So it's kind of like interesting to see like the object moving, like the drawer opening, and like stop motion is also an interesting reference to watch for puppetry work.
And The Mandalorian, which I'm sure everyone is watching, but I mean, the most famous character in the world right now is a puppet.
It's true. I'm the only person in the world, I think, who's not watching that right now, but
Oh, it's so good.
Well, so we've got about 8 minutes or so left. So again, as a reminder to anyone out there, if you want to join the conversation, if you want to ask a question, please do so. And let's see, I'll put up my little thing here again. If you're interested in the classes, go to this website. That's where you can learn all about dates and times and how to register and all that. So let me ask one more question for the next couple minutes here, unless somebody out there has a question. Tell us about one of your favorite projects. Like, Kayla, what's a costume that you've done that you just are so proud of, that you love?
Sorry, my mouse got stuck. So it wasn't the most creative project, but when I did Beauty and the Beast the last time, I've done it 3 times. And when you do a Disney show, like, you can't get that creative. Like, you've got to do the Disney version of it. But when Belle came out in that gold dress, and there were 5 of us working on it because it was a huge ball gown. She came out and everyone just went, oh, and they all started applauding. And I'm like, that's the first time any of my costumes ever got applause. And, I just did the movie dress. So it wasn't the most creative, but just to see the audience light up and go, like, you see everyone reliving that special moment from their childhood. That was really, really sweet.
Yeah, and you can't do that moment without that dress, right? It's not. No. It is an integral part of that experience.
I can't make the dress blue.
Right. Carolina, do you have a favorite puppet that you've done?
Sí. Hice un Quijote, un personaje del Quijote hace un par de años. Pero lo que me gustó de este proyecto fue que yo hice este títere con alguien más. Yo construí el rostro y un titiritero mexicano hizo un cuerpo articulado de madera, que el titiritero es Humberto Galicia. Pero lo que me gustó de ese títere en específico fue que me tomé mucho tiempo para tratar de plasmar la locura y la inocencia de este viejo. Y la cara de ese títere es una cara que tengo siempre en la memoria. Es como un personaje a quien yo quiero, aunque no vive conmigo, digamos, este títere yo lo entregué a la compañía que me lo encargó, pero es una foto, o sea, la foto de ese títere a mí me hace sentir muy orgullosa de mi trabajo. Ese ha sido hasta ahorita mi títere favorito.
Alfredo, do you have a favorite mask you want to tell us about? Or yeah.
It's a project that I made with Caro and another friend. It's called D Suite, and it's a mask and object show. We have no words in them, and we only move with the masks as live music is being played. But there are some facial masks that we wear, but there are also like 3 other masks which are burlap sacks. So the 3 of us get inside the burlap sack, each of us, and then at the end of the play, the 3 of us get inside the same burlap sack, and it's a giant burlap sack. And the burlap sacks start like becoming characters. So I love that project, and I love that mask. In a way, I know it's not a facial mask, but it's like let's call it like a body mask. So I like it because it's been very hard to keep it going. It has required lots of time and work and love, and especially because I think I like it because of the process. When we first saw the burlap sacks, we were like, okay, we have this object, we can explore this object, or we can move forward and find another ones. But we decided to go for the burlap sacks till we like get all the juice from them. So from the moment we touch those sacks, we never touch another object. We went for them, and we were inside, like in rehearsals. We were inside the burlap sacks for 1 hour and a half, and we were all sweating inside, and it's just like the experience of knowing the object and being inside the object and seeing the object from the outside and communicating between us, and then seeing the video, like how, like all the possibilities and things that become interesting, things that become not interesting to the viewer is just like fascinating. And we are still working on it. Now it's going to be a video, like a video dance, because it has to be virtual now. So we decided to make it a video dance. So I think that mask, like the burlap sack mask, it's one of my favorite.
That what you're saying about process too, that so rings true. Like that's the joy, the excitement that you get to
definitely
try things and build on things and build on other people's work. We've got one question that I want to talk about for a minute, and then we can finish up. Felisa wants to know about adding more cultural elements to theater lessons for children, which is a really good question. And I think a lot of, theater education, at least in the United States, oftentimes, focuses on sort of the classical canon, which is a lot of, sort of European works, right? So it's an interesting question. How do you get more cultural elements into those lessons? I don't know who might want to share some thoughts about that.
Se refiere a... la pregunta va sobre una maestra que no es maestra de teatro, sino quiere, por lo que entiendo, sino quiere agregar elementos técnicos a
Sí
la...
es maestra de teatro, solo que quiere saber cómo agregar más elementos culturales a sus clases de teatro.
Oh. Elementos culturales se refiere como...
Yes, I'm not sure what does she mean by cultural. Maybe it's something that you like understand in English, like cultural elements. You mean like cultural, like society, or cultural, like culture and arts?
I think probably, and Felisa, if you want to throw something in the comments clarifying too, please do so. But I feel in the context of theater in the United States, there's a very like European dominant line of theater, right? That is sort of, this is the mainstream of what theater is. And I mean, companies like Teatro Visión, and there are a lot of other companies working in different theatrical traditions that come from other cultures, are trying to change that. And so I would think the question is, if you're teaching theater in a school in the US and you want to make it not focused exclusively on this Western European tradition, what's a good way to get elements from other cultures into those lessons? And I mean, I think a lot of the things that some of you all have been alluding to would be helpful in that way, right? Alfredo, you were referencing these rich histories of like mask usage in cultures all over the world, and that there's so many, references that you can find about that, and that you can watch and learn and try yourself. Oh, here we go. Let's see.
I think it's
yeah, so she's saying her students are Latino and African American, but you don't see theater plays for children. And that's true, especially too, right? This is, it's the most well-known shows certainly are, again, are mostly based on sort of Western European cultures.
It's a little, to me, it's a little hard to respond this question, because when I was in the United States, I experienced this very, very, very strong resistance, or not resistance, but like caution to like perform like someone that you are not, like a Black person or like an indigenous. And I was like, but it's theater, so it doesn't matter, because I come from a different context and different ways of thinking, and the United States has a totally different history. So considering these ways of thinking in the US, if your students have those origins, I would say like maybe play devising, because when you devise, you are not taking someone else's script, and you start playing with the material that your students are giving to you. And your role as a director and teacher maybe can be to put the things together, like ensemble everything, but the material comes from them. The characters, the situation, the circumstances, they come from them. So maybe devising can be an interesting process. Mm-hmm.
I did a production of Mary Poppins, and one of the things I love about working with kids is that, you know, kids come in and they're from different cultures and different races, and we don't care, and we throw them all in the same show, and then they could be sisters even though they don't look alike, and that's the magic of theater. But when I did Mary Poppins, the director said, "Okay, bear with me with this. I have this idea. I want to do supercalifragilisticexpialidocious as a Bollywood number," and I went, "I love it. It's great." And so everyone came out and we stopped the show and did the whole number. They tweaked the music. They brought in a consultant, an Indian dance consultant, and that's what we did. So thinking outside the box too. I mean, I think devising is great to bring in all these other cultures, but maybe you have sort of a script that could lean to adding in culture, that kind of a blank slate to bring everyone's cultures in.
Creo que también se puede trabajar con los materiales de las regiones en las que ellos están o de las que ellos vienen, porque a partir de los materiales, eso va a condicionar un poco las historias que ellos puedan inventar. Creo que también ahí se pueden meter elementos de su cultura, sus colores, sus materiales y sus historias. Creo que también podría ser una manera de incluirlos en las...
What she say, sorry, is like maybe also a way to include them is not necessarily include them in the words and in the way they relate to each other, or in the physical appearances, but in materials, like including materials from the places they belong to, that can also become something fundamental or a foundation, or give some foundation to the work. And then, like as a base, as a point of departure, maybe materials and playing with materials can start giving paths and opening doors, like the colors, textures, textiles, songs.
It's a good way, and we're just about out of time, so we should wrap up. But I feel like maybe that's a good way to wrap it up too, because what you're getting at there is the things that we're learning, but the things that we're talking about as technical theater, that is that there's so much more to theater than the text that you're working from, than even the people who are on stage, right? It's all these physical, the materials that you're using, the colors that you're choosing, the shapes of the space, the other, you know, objects and props and things that we're bringing in. And those are all opportunities to allow students, or, you know, whoever it may be, to express themselves and to bring themselves and their culture and their history to the piece that you're all creating together. So cool. Well, thank you all so much for being here with me today. Thank you, Kayla, Carolina, Alfredo. This was a really fun conversation, and thank you to all of you who are out there watching and asking questions. And again, I'm just going to put up the link one more time. If people are interested in our classes, please go to that website and learn more and register. And with that, I will say, remember Hora del Mitote. We are here every Friday at 7 on Facebook and YouTube. So hopefully you will all come back and join us next week at 7. And in the meantime, be well, stay safe, and we'll see you next week. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.